All right, we are now on gap 2, service design. Okay, so we've covered gap 1, now we're on gap 2. Remember, going back to the beginning again, we start with the idea that expectations and perceptions are not being met, so now we're trying to diagnose it. So in this case, we're now within the company aspect. Here, the customer-driven service standards are not meeting the perceptions of the customer's expectations. Okay, the company perceptions of the customer expectations, not the guest perceptions, but the company's. So we know what the customer wants, but we're not understanding it well enough in terms of the way we're designing our services. And we're going to talk about some good services in terms of companies that have done that effectively in the discussion of this particular gap. So factors that lead to it: poor service design. Okay, we just haven't figured out the process, and now we're not talking about physical structures. We're talking about the way the service is delivered by the employee to the guest. Absence of customer-driven standards. So maybe we don't have a set of what's expected to be there. We haven't incorporated into our plans to our line employees what it is that we actually are trying to do. What's our standard? Or inappropriate physical evidence and servicescape, and we're going to talk about those at a more lengthy aspect later on in the semester. So we'll talk about the first two first. So the contributing factors: inadequate management commitment to service quality. That's one of the overriding aspects. So if you work for a company that the senior leadership isn't dedicated to service quality, it's going to be very difficult for them to set standards up that meet what the guest expects. A perception of infeasibility. Maybe there's a perception that, in fact, it can't be done. It can't be done because of the cost effectiveness. And in today's world, where major financial institutions own a lot of hotels, this aspect within the management team of the hotel may be a reality, and that the management doesn't feel that they're going to be able to get these programs past the ownership because of the cost factors. Okay. Inadequate task standardization. In other words, we haven't taught the employee how to do things at the level and the method that we expect them to do, or absence of goal setting altogether. So the way we close the gap, we have to have a commitment to quality from the top. We have to create some possibilities of how things are, and we have to standardize tasks. Okay, we have to make hard technology for personal contact and human. We have to substitute hard technology for personal contact and human effort sometimes. So we use a lot of things today with apps, and we use robots and so on in the process of things that we're doing, and we'll deal with innovation here later on in this particular set of lectures that we have today. So those are key elements here. And then we use soft technology to change the work process in order to make things more effective for the employees. So we have back of the house and front of the house kinds of things that we deal with in terms of making the job easier for the employee to deliver the service we want. And we combine those two. That's a big issue. We have to be able to make sure we're working both together. We set service quality goals. We design those, and I'll talk about those in terms of what are some of the leadership companies that we might admire would be doing. We're very specific. They're accepted by the employees. Important job dimensions are involved here. We'll talk more about those when we get to gap 3. We measure and we review the appropriate feedback. So in design measures, we have technical quality and we have customer quality. So in the technical quality, we're talking about the mechanical, procedural, how things work. Internal indicators, right? Downtimes, wait times, covers per night, all of those kind of things are measures of our technical quality. How well we turn over the restaurant, what our occupancy was, and so on. Trouble spotting and problem solving are things that we look for in terms of technical quality. Sometimes that's done by computer aspect in terms of making us aware of when we're oversold in a situation or where and how we're going to deal with that. And then we have customer quality, which is really more of what we're focusing on here in this course, which is the customer's observations and their views in terms of understanding their quality aspect, ease of use, satisfaction and retention, bringing the people back. Okay, those are the things that we want to be able to do. So when we develop the service process, we have a front-end planning and an implementation. Now, these make good multiple choice type questions, right? So we start with a business strategy development or review. Then we create a new service strategy development. We generate an idea. Okay, we screen ideas. We bring things in. We brainstorm. We do whatever method we have to there. Then we have a concept that we develop and evaluate, and that leads to a business analysis. Okay, that's the front end side. That's doing the research beforehand in terms of how we want to design it. And then we have to go out and implement it. So once we put it into place, then we have to make sure that it works, and we need to fine tune it. So we put the service development into test aspect. We see how that works maybe in a prototype first. We test it out within a particular market segment. Maybe we do some of that. And then we take it out and commercialize it, or in other words, we launch it to the whole organization. And then we look at and evaluate that as we go along. And then we fine tune it at all those steps along the way. So we have a front end planning, and then we have an implementation, and then we have a redevelopment from there. Now when we're setting strategies, one of the ways that we might look at strategies is a service strategy matrix here, identifying growth opportunities for us. So we have 4 different quadrants here based on what we're offering and the markets that we're offering it to. So in the market situation, we have current customers. See if I can bring my cursor up here. Current customers, and we have new customers. Okay. So in the current customer side, what we're doing is existing services to current customers. So we're adding more to what we're doing to current customers. That's share building. That's what we call share building here. If we're talking about current customers again and we're offering new services, that's new service development. A new service development for the existing customers. But perhaps we want to expand our operation and we want to bring in new customers. When we have new customers, we're looking at market development if we're using existing services. So we're taking what we already do and we're taking it to new types of customers. And I'm going to show you some examples of this in a minute. And then the last one in the bottom right hand corner is diversification. That's where we have new services and new customers, something we want to do completely different than what we're doing already. So let's take an example here. Let's look at Taco Bell. Taco Bell is part of Yum Brands, and they're a large Mexican restaurant operation in more than just the U.S. I'm not sure exactly whether you have them in the Philippines or not, but I imagine some of you might be aware of them. So if we're looking at their offerings, if we want to expand the number of outlets, okay, that's current customers, existing services. So we take the same product that we've had and we put it in a new location. So maybe there's a new development, there's a new city that's building a new area, maybe there is a new mall being built, something of that nature, and we go and we put our operation in a new place. So that's just basically expansion is what we're looking. Expanding the number of outlets, that's current customers and existing services. New services to current customers. This is something Taco Bell is well known for in the States, is they're always adding new items. They're always bringing in something new, some tricky named product. In fact, recently, they've actually gone back to bringing some of the old products back. They're on a new campaign of bringing some of the old products back, which in a way might be a new product menu. Again, I don't know exactly where we qualify that, but that might be new menu items. That's what they're doing there. Now, let's say that they wanted to, and they did, expand. Sorry, this keeps clicking backwards on us. The new customers, existing services. So that's like taking the Taco Bell operation and putting it in a place where maybe we haven't been before. So as it's suggested here, a new location like an airport. Okay? So maybe that you have an airport counter. That's maybe someplace that you haven't been before. It's a new way to do that. And then if you go to a completely new customer and a new services, it's the self-service aspect in a grocery store. In other words, taking those products, putting them in the frozen food section for people to come buy them and take them home. Okay, that would be an example of that. Now later, when you get together with your group presenting, I've suggested that maybe we look at something a little bit differently. So here's the overall broad example. Marriott strategy. Now, a few years back, before Marriott took on the Starwood operation, became the company they are today, this was the example of where they were at, what they were looking at. So what they did is they said, we have 4 different types of product. 4 different types of product. We have our traditional hotels. We have our extended stay hotels. We have then a new area they were branching into, senior living, and you have vacation ownership. So what they did is they said, well, all right, well, we have 3 different levels of properties in each one of these. Now they have many more properties than what you see in this example when they've got their combined product that they have today. But you have on the deluxe side in hotels. Let's see if I can find my cursor. Okay, deluxe side in hotels, Ritz-Carlton. Today it's Ritz-Carlton, it's St. Regis, it's the Luxury Collection, so on. They have a number in that category. Then you have your full service hotels, where they began, okay, with the Marriott Hotels operations, or Sheraton's might also be in that category. And then you have the limited service, the Fairfield Inn. So they said, all right, well, we have those three categories here. What about our extended stay? So which one is this? Is this new customers, or is this same product? Okay, that's for you to discuss. But what they did here is they said, well, they bought Residence Inn a number of years ago, and they've been operating that for a long time. They had started and developed the Spring Hill suites, and they also have the Town Place suites, and for the life of me, I still haven't been able to figure out how one position is different than the others, but Spring Hill Suites is a limited service product. And then they developed a new product here, which was the starred product here, is ExecuStay. So they have a Ritz-Carlton extended stay product now too, in terms of what they've developed there. Now let's move up to the vacation ownership, which is another area that Marriott ventured into. In fact, they did it back in 1986 when I was working at the Marriott World Center, and they started their vacation operation there when they bought another company and then built their first vacation ownership operation there in Orlando. So they had to make, excuse me 1 minute, that mouse seems to get a little quick sometimes. So you have the Marriott Vacation Club, okay, and the Marriott Vacation aspects. In the luxury side of it, then they started developing vacation ownerships for under the Ritz-Carlton brand. And you have Horizons. Horizons was the limited service brand. Excuse me. A little drier than normal today. I know I talk too much sometimes, right? They were developing into the senior living side. So you have to decide, what is that? Hey, is that new product and new customers or existing customers? What is it exactly? So again, they were trying to structure here their senior living in the same level, where they would have the equivalent Marriott Hotel in the middle, they would have the Ritz-Carlton on the high end, and then they would have the equivalent of a Fairfield Inn on the lower end. That was their overall strategy. Now I said that we'd look at successful service quality delivery systems. Taking a Marriott product, let's look at Ritz-Carlton. Ritz-Carlton has been written about a lot. Now they started before Marriott. Marriott bought Ritz-Carlton. A guy named Horst Schulze is really attributed to a lot of these systems that we have in place today. And he is with Capella today, although he recently, that was acquired by a Singaporean company, so I don't think he's involved as much as he used to. But they started off with the concept of ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's their primary motto in terms of where they're at. So they have their gold standards of quality service that they want to have delivered. So their values and operating philosophy, their gold standards, they have a credo, a motto, 3 steps, 12 service values, and employee promise. They have all of those that build on what they have learned from the customer and trying to communicate that back to the team that has to deliver that service. Okay, this is what we mean by designing a service system. In the service values, for example, looking at these, you have build a strong relationship and create Ritz-Carlton guests for life. You have I'm always responsible to the expressed and unexpressed wishes and needs of the guests, and so on. Empowerment, understanding their role, key success factors, continuous service aspects. I own and immediately resolve guest problems. Those are the first. Those are the first 6. And then you have the others. Create work environment, teamwork. I'm not going to go through all of these. Learn and grow. These are all aspects of how they want to grow their service values within their team that are delivering the service. And you notice there's 12 of them. You'll find that most companies have gone to the aspect of 12. And why do you think that is? Okay, I'm sure you've figured it out by now. How many months are there in a year? 12. So we can highlight each one of these over a month during the year. I think that's the most logical reason for why there are 12. And each employee is given a pocket card. Now today it's probably on your mobile, but they have a pocket card that has their service values. It has all 12 of those values. It has their overall aspect of what they expect, so that you can always go back and refer to that, and every employee keeps that on their presence. In their gold standards, it's about positive perspective of thinking. It's about their attitude, their behavior, their feelings, and their thinking. Okay, how do they deal with the standards and how do they deliver them to the guests? Thinking they're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Mandarin Oriental, great company that I have a lot of respect for. They have their legendary quality experience. Once again, by the way, their legendary quality experience has 12 different aspects of what they deal with in terms of the customer. But you see their mission statement here. Our mission is to completely delight and satisfy our guests. We're committed to making a difference every day, continually getting better to keep us the best. And then their guiding principles. Okay, their guiding principles are what they are basically dealing with in terms of making sure that everyone is following those directions over time. Starbucks that you're reading about here, Starbucks has its 5 ways of being, right? Has its 5 ways of being. So we have be welcoming, be genuine, be considerate, be knowledgeable, be involved. And I'll let you discuss that more amongst in your discussion session in terms of how that operates. Now we also have to put processes in place. We need processes for when we're overbooked, and this could apply to a restaurant or a hotel. We have a wait philosophy, and we'll talk more about that when we get to managing demand. And we have a blueprinting process, which we're going to do next week in class. You're going to work on these individually, and we're going to talk about them in class next week, and I'm going to introduce that to you in in-class presentation. So when we look at overbooking for a hotel, we have to plan in advance, ask for volunteers, determine appropriate compensation, prepare the front desk, employ all these kinds of techniques, how we're going to greet the customer, what we're going to do. I remember the first time I went through one of these in downtown Chicago Marriott, and our reservations manager actually enjoyed these because she spent a lot of time with people on the phone giving her a hard time, and she loved going up to the customer when they came in and say, "I'm sorry, we don't have a room for you. We're going to take you somewhere else." But in the one scenario that we had, we were 100 and some rooms overbooked in a 1,200 room hotel, which was pretty significant, and we had to find rooms. And so I was helping as the manager on duty that night to find places. So I was calling around the city of Chicago trying to find places, and I was finding no luck. And finally, I got to a hotel that was up in Lincoln Park on the north side of Chicago, and I said, "Do you have any rooms?" And they said, "Yes, we do." And I said, "Great, we want to send some guests over there." And they said, "It'll be cash only," and then I thought, okay, cash only. I wonder how many hours they're actually going to be there as their normal guest. I was a little concerned about that. I passed it on. I don't know whether they ever booked anybody there or not. But we were sending people out to the airport area, which is quite a bit of distance from downtown. We were in very serious condition in overbooking. We did not plan very well for that, and it set plans in place that I was involved in working with from that period on. Weight effects, we'll just talk briefly about this here. I'll talk more about it later. But time versus money trade-off, we have a scarcity of time. So how do we make sure that the guest is getting what they're looking for and in the right time so we don't scare them off, if you will. Control of your choice, because you have alternatives. That's another factor. If it's going to take you too long to go to this restaurant, you might go to another one. I'm sure you've done that before. I think we all have. The 7 principles of waiting. Empty minutes are long minutes, so we got to keep them busy, right? In-process minutes are shorter, so if we show people how much time and we get them going through a queue to a certain level, that helps. Okay? Unknown waits are considerably longer. Waits for valued customers seem shorter because they want to get in and they're willing to wait for it. Fair waits seem shorter. Overpromise stretches reasonable waits. So if we say the table's going to be ready in 30 minutes and it's not ready for an hour, you're going to have some unhappy customers or potential customers by that time. Observable time-saving actions make waits shorter. Okay, so we have to keep things going. We have to be able to do things there. We'll talk more about these when we get into wait strategy. Okay, these are the group discussion questions for this section, and that completes this section on GAP 2. Enjoy the discussion. I look forward to it.